Hey, what is up everyone? It's Rich. Alright, welcome to a video. Super fun Sunday, some might call it. So I wanted to follow up with the crossover books that the Image creators did, the Image founders. That would be Todd McFarlane and Mark Silvestri switched, Jim Lee and Erik Larsen switched, and Rob Liefeld and Jim Valentino switched. We'll do Jim Valentino and Rob next. That one will be interesting for me because honestly, I'm not 100% sure that I've ever seen either one of those comic books. I did see the covers of both of them just recently, and Rob's cover looks very, very cool, honestly. It's a little bit of a different style for him, and I'm actually excited to see what he did inside. So what I thought we would do is we'll look through Erik Larsen's WildC.A.T.s issue first, and then we'll do Jim Lee's Savage Dragon. I collected both of these, so it was interesting. So at this point of WildC.A.T.s, I wasn't really... I liked the book, but I wasn't a huge fan of the title. It doesn't mean that I disliked it, but there was so much stuff coming out that was superhero teams, and a lot of the stuff for a new collector kind of all looked the same. I mean, Cyberforce and WildC.A.T.s were clearly different books, but at the same time, they were similar enough, you know, and they even did a little crossover, I think, in issues 5 and 6, Killer Instinct. So in my defense, there was so many people copying, in particular, Jim Lee's look. It could get confusing. Larsen definitely has his own thing, and it was interesting seeing these files open. I was seeing a tiny bit of Walter Simonson in some of his work, and also I think Larry Stroman. So it's an interesting blend. But Larsen is a really, really good cartoonist, and this cover is great. What ended up happening was, so when Travis got on WildC.A.T.s, I became a big fan. It was a little different. It evolved into something very, very different, and then I kind of went back. But at that point, because I liked how Travis drew the WildC.A.T.s so much, I became very, very picky, in particular of how other people drew the WildC.A.T.s. So like when Barry Windsor Smith did some of the Wildstorm Rising stuff, I wasn't really that into it. It had to look a certain way. It was almost like the if you saw a movie and the actors you thought were perfect, and then they switched actors, you know, you even if it was a better movie, you might still go, you know, I kind of like so and so in the role of Maul or Voodoo. So anyway, let's get to it. So this is a very, very nice cover. Everything is drawn great. I'm always very, very impressed with how really good superhero comic book artists can draw these gigantic bodies with the heads and just really, really unique things. I always found it precarious to decide what to do with the neck or lack of a neck. And all this stuff is great. This pose is great. I can't remember what this character's name is, to be honest. I'm assuming maybe it's one of Larsen's characters. We'll see inside. This is great, and it's a very, very long arm, but it looks awesome. And he did that classic thing where not only is it like a side view of the arm, but it is actually going back into space. And you can tell that by how much of the back of the hand we're seeing, because we're seeing both sides of the palm edges, like the pinky palm, or whatever you want to call this, like the wedge of the back of the hand. You can see both of them. So he brought the hand back around. It's going back into space a bit. It's very cool. This is a great fist too. And, you know, Voodoo looks cool. I don't think Erik always draws the, like, hottest looking women, but they suffice. I think the figures are better than the faces. So we're going to go in order. I think it'll be funner to look at the thing. So there's like a little letters column probably talking about the switch, and he is Erik with a K, so he's like Mark with a C instead of a K. It's interesting. They switched letters. So this is a nice drawing of Maul. He's a little like his legs are maybe like a little thin, but it looks cool. Again, I really like how he handles the big figure here. It looks very, very cool. His rib cage gets a little lost right here because this is it's protruding quite a bit here. But the same amount of mass. Oh, I guess the hand is sort of in front of it. It's creating a weird tangent where this looks like the side of his body, but in fact, his probably, you can see it would probably go like this a bit more. This makes it look like that's the outline of his back, which also makes it look very lumpy because of this shape right here. The colors don't help it. That highlight right there really pops that out. People have requested when I say something's good or something's bad to be more specific. I try to be. I mean, it's difficult. This is funny. This looks like a hand. Is this a creature? I guess they're all hands. That's cool. Yeah, this is really cool. There's like a creepy mouth right there too. This is nice. Yeah, Willis didn't do a crossover book, but Willis had like a family emergency kind of right as Image was launching, and he wasn't able to participate in a lot of this stuff in a timely fashion then. This is all really, really good. Oh, and so for Silent Wolf, just so people know, I did mention in one of the videos, or maybe multiple, that I am on a tight deadline right now. So I was hoping to be able to get to it in about a week. I did work on it about 90 minutes. I recorded all the footage that I did of that 90 minutes. But I still want to take 2 more optional passes on the character design, and then I'll do the piece. So it may be a little while, but I will get. It's one of my priorities. But I'm on 2 books right now, and I've got deadlines for both of them that are fast approaching. I've got like 3 weeks to do 26 pages. I've already been working on it for a while, but I'm finishing it up. Batman and then Nightwing, 2 different books. But it's cool. So anyway, really nice 2-page spread. This has got a little bit of that Stroman vibe that I was talking about, and even this too. You know, this is where I get like a little where like Zealot should look a certain way to me a little bit more. Void's really got an interesting silhouette too. Her midsection goes in quite a bit. This is a nice Spartan. His hands are cool. Warblade looks great. Maul looks cool. His Grifter's a little stiff, just a little tiny bit right here, but I like how it's drawn, and this leg is a little stiff too. It's sort of as look, you know, it's interesting. There's like Jay Lee had a little bit of this going on too. Some of this. It's so interesting how these guys were all blending. I mean, you could imagine you had all these people just selling tons and tons of books, and a lot of success and a lot of heat and a lot of popularity being shot out like a shotgun in all directions at these creators. And I'm sure they were watching each other. I know that when I got to Wildstorm, there was friendly competition between artists, and it truly was friendly, and it was very positive, creative push. And I one of my favorite quote unquote rivalries would be like J. Scott Campbell and Michael Turner. They were like 2 sports cars that you watch just keep winning races, and they were going back and forth. It was like Campbell had Gen 13, Turner had Witchblade, Campbell had Danger Girl, Turner had Fathom. It was great, and they both propelled each other up and up and up. That's what positive competition does. No one's getting tore down. You're building it up and creating something together with that. You know, it's like 2 great athletes. They brought great things out of each other from that competition. That's amazing stuff. So this is nice. The scan on this is a little dark. I can, well, actually, I won't do it that way. I'll do it like this. I can lighten it a little bit, but yeah, scan isn't so great. We'll take it to like right about there. I love Emp. Emp, I think, is such a fun character. Jacob Marlowe. This is awesome. It's an awesome little drawing. This looks great. This looks great. All this is very, very cool. I've been trying to find my Trencher issues. I wanted to do Keith Giffen Trencher. If you've never seen that, it's a very, very stylish book in the vein of maybe like a Bisley Lobo, but way more fractal. This is really nice. Man, Larsen can draw really good. This is funny. You'll see Grifter wearing a very, very similar outfit in Jim's Savage Dragon issue. This is pretty funny right here. This is all okay. Yeah, these were very, very fun comics. So I'm not as crazy about stuff like this. This is okay. It doesn't blow me away. Still, this is a very nice down shot. Good stuff. It's just the reason being, I'll explain, is just it's a little too angular for my personal taste, and maybe a little too generic. Like the detailing on it is just too by the numbers. But people would literally learn to draw that way, where it would be like if you were learning a song and you went like, okay, the tough guy face. It's like you have a line here, you have a line here, you do this shape, you put these lines here. And people would literally learn to draw faces like that. And, you know, I mean, it serves its purpose to an extent, but, you know, I mean, at some point, you're probably going to have to take it more. This is great. This is really, really good. This is a little sketchy under here in terms of anatomical sort of directions and placement. It still looks cool, though. I'll give it a go. A thumbs up. This is all cool. But yeah, this has got the Kirby thing, right? Is it for forever people, tomorrow people, and like Mr. Miracle and that kind of stuff? This is great, though. It's actually really cool. I think I have the comic book with this cover, the Jack Kirby version. His buildings are awesome. I mean, Erik Larsen is not a lazy artist. He really, really puts a lot into it. And the fact that he consistently penciled and inked to himself throughout his career is, well, at least the Image era, is really impressive. I'm going to lighten this a little bit. So I tip my hat to that, too, because it's badass. Excuse me. This is what happens when you don't shoot videos for a while. All your cordialness goes out the window. This is cool. I like this little character. Super Patriot. So I can't remember. Was Super Patriot a Larsen character originally? I'm trying to remember. I think, didn't Dave Johnson do the mini-series? I don't know. It's been a long time. You. Hmm? Oh. Right. This is a nice two-page, or not two-page spread, sorry, splash. Rocks. Image books had lots of rocks and speed lines. If someone was getting punched through the air, odds are they were going through a wall and there was going to be some rubble. The lip of doom. It's funny because you would figure that would happen like right after you would get punched, but he's gone all this distance and his face is still contorted that way. I don't buy it. No. Just kidding. You can't be that critical of comics. Come on. It's just not fair. Oh, it's so awesome. That's a great mall pose. Damn. That is really, really killer. Both poses are excellent. Man, that is great. That's really, I love the moment that he froze here, because it's like he's not fully extended, like he's about to drop it. He's still kind of reeling back. I get the impression that he's still torquing it and kind of setting it up. It's nice, very subtle. He was able to probably take his original sketch and then have the confidence and experience to really finish it. But man, that is a beautiful pose. This is so good. This is great too. I love how he handled the horns coming forward, and you've got this nice three-dimensional shape to it, and this is all excellent too. And this is great too. Same deal with the horns. You can see how he's really showing the turn of them and the lower planes because we're underneath it, and this is all great. And again, the neck area, I always love this. I think it's so cool when artists can do this well. Man, these are big drawings. If you saw these on the original boards, this would be tremendously big poses. Look at that. Wow. Man, that is so cool. All right, I'm going to lighten it just the tiniest bit. It's a little saturated, but this will help a little. You know, most of these books, I would imagine you could get pretty cheap still, and maybe even in lots. So many copies of this sold, and so many people bought multiple copies of the books. You know, I mean, it's just, the stuff is out there in copious amounts. So, you know, whenever you see these videos, know that probably, generally speaking, if you have some patience, you could probably get most of these comics for, I would say, $1 to $3. And if you were really patient and hit some shows, you could probably find them in dollar boxes. Not always, but sometimes. There's always the crazy person that wants way too much for them on eBay, but, you know, ignore those types. His character designs are funny. I mean, I remember in his comic, he would talk about that a lot of them he designed when he was like a kid. Yeah, so let's lighten this just a little bit. The other thing is Travis was so good with Grifter's mask. I got kind of picky about how the mask sound. This is nice though. I like the cape right here. This is really cool. This looks cool. He does Maul's hands like this a lot. Maul's always got the hands where he's like reacting hands. This is nice. This fist is at a great angle. Like, really, really cool. That's nice. Really, really good. Voodoo looks cute. This is all really, really good. Not crazy about Zealot's body. It's a little too narrow for my taste in the waist. And he does it with her too. You see that how thin it is? This is cool. He did a really good Warblade. The joints on his fingers are a little trippy, but it's still good. And this is a good example. I've talked to people about this before. Is like you can see he doesn't really like he's not drawing like literal lighting on back anatomy here, any version of it, but he's got enough of the big shapes in like this and this and kind of this that he's able to sort of just, you know, have everything ripple. Your back, when you pull your arms back and it's tensed, everything starts to ball up and you get all these little ball shapes. So that's why he was able to do something along the lines of this and have it look somewhat okay overall. It's not noticeably weird, but it's a big part of it is this and these shoulder blades and this right here and then this little area right here helps. It's like these aren't really folds. It's just a lot of like shapes, but there's enough in there that kind of hit the mark that it works. But he does know what he's doing. That's why he's able to sort of manipulate it. This is actually really good. Very cool pose. I love her arm going back and this and the legs. This is really, really good too. Man, this foot's at a great angle. The foot and then the lower leg. This is all great. This is nice. Classic side view of Warblade flying in the scene. Super Patriot. Spartan getting punched by whatever this dude's name was. I can't remember. This is nice too. I think that's Voodoo's face right there. Like her jaw. Maybe. Am I seeing that right? This is all really, really cool. He does the like double lighting on everyone's butts. I was noticing that on the other page that had like lighting like that. Maybe it was on Warblade's ass. This is cool. And he doesn't have that super tapered waist. Yeah, I'll pull out that Barry Windsor Smith WildC.A.T.s issue because it's I saw it recently and I liked it a lot more. Like I don't have an axe to grind as much as I did when I was a younger collector. You know, it's like when you've got skin in the game, you're way more picky about what people are doing with your characters. But so much time has gone by, and these characters aren't even published anymore. You know, it's just fun to see them doing anything, and then you can kind of take it for that and not have maybe like as harsh of an opinion or criticisms of things. We're fans, so you know what I mean. It comes with the territory, though. This is great right here, man. I love stuff like this too, where you can't really see what's going on, but everything that you can see that's going on looks really dynamic. I mean, Warblade's arm is coming towards us right here, but the hand gets huge because his hands are like that Terminator 2 material. And he has a witty line, which is, "I'm going to carve you up like a turkey." This is cool. I like her breaking the panel. It's nice. She's leaping and kind of coming out of the panel. And then I was going to say probably did it with Grifter too, and he did. And this is nice. He didn't get like super jiggy with the packs here. You know, you could, I guess they could be more like bullet shaped, cylindrical. This is awesome. Man, look at Super Patriot's arm. That is so cool. It would be funny to find lots of drawings of Super Patriot and see how accurate he is with his replicating how he draws the gear. It's not that complicated, though, overall. Like, I'm not seeing craziness where it could be possible that he actually does do it sort of the same when the arms are in that form. This is cool. I didn't really notice this. These very large bands on his legs. I like the Super Patriot comic, or at least my recollection is that I did like it at the time. This is cool. I like it. It's a little different. And the mask, this is neat how he did the wrinkles there. I actually think that looks pretty cool. It's different, but this is good different. His hair's a little short there. I like it a little longer. I'm used to the Travis, you know, like bangs and stuff kind of hanging down. If you don't follow Todd McFarlane on Instagram, which I'm sure most of you do, he actually posted, I didn't listen to the audio on it, but I could already tell what he was doing. But I think he's been inking some Ken Lashley pages, and he showed how he simplified some of Ken's detail. I'd be curious of what Ken thought of it, because Ken does a lot of shapes and a lot of detail in his stuff. I've always noticed that with his work. And Todd took a lot of it out and then put more heavy shadows on it. And it definitely read clearer. But, you know, pencilers can be very particular. And Ken's been working professionally for longer than I have. So he probably has his own opinions on things. It's tough when you've got sort of a change coming from someone like McFarlane, who, one, is a legend in comics, and then two, is sort of your boss on the job. But artists are artists. You mess with their art, sometimes and this is just generally speaking, I'm not talking about their exact situation, but it's worth checking out, because I did think what Todd did read more clear. This is really, really kick-ass right here. Man, God, Larsen can do such dynamic figures. I used to I didn't collect it at the time, but I bought collections of Spider-Man over the years that had a lot of his, I guess it was Amazing Spider-Man he worked on. They're pretty cool. Yeah, he's really good. This is all so fun. We haven't even gotten WildC.A.T.s yet. I saved that one as sort of like the, what would you call it? Like the... Oh, sorry, let me just real quick. The finale. Boom. This is a nice panel. This is tricky to do. I think either artists are into this or they're not. And into this meaning the standing on the panel border. I don't think I'm that guy. But Arthur Adams will do it too. And I've seen J. Scott Campbell do it, but I don't know if there would ever be a situation where I mean, obviously if I used it, it would be intentional, but yeah, I don't see myself ever planning people's feet right on the panel border. It looks fine here, though. It's just, you know what I mean? You have your own sort of things you do. These are great hands. Man, they're really, really nice. It's a great gesture. He kept it loose. It gives me all the information to know that this is a man's hand and a woman's hand. And it looks right, and it looks good. It looks real good, actually. This is cool. I actually like this Jeremy. This is nice. And we got one more page, and then we're going to hit the Jim Lee Savage Dragon, sorry. What's funny, too, is thinking back on this, I always thought that Jim Savage Dragon was actually WildC.A.T.s 14. I don't know why, but this is WildC.A.T.s 14. And I think Jim's is Savage Dragon 13. But yeah, it was funny because I didn't realize that they literally switched titles. I thought that just the characters jumped to, you know, the other creator's book. Like WildC.A.T.s 14 was Jim drawing Savage Dragon. If you follow me, this is nice. I like this. This is a great figure right here. It's just nice and dynamic. It's simple. He put in just enough anatomy to show like some musculature. Emp looks very, very weird right there, but that's not a big deal. It's a little tiny drawing, and she's a little big for how far away she is. This is nice. Savage Dragon looks great. This is really cool. This is nice with the foot. His Jeremy is good. This looks good and this looks good. He's nice and lean. I like the type, the type that he gives them, and then that's such a classic, like Erik Larsen drawing. Okay, all right, let's open up some Jim Lee Savage Dragon. Let's do this. And we will start from the top and work our way through. And this is less saturated in the book. That'll be good. All right, so the cover. I absolutely love this cover. I think it's probably one of my favorite Jim Lee covers from this area. And you can see it's Savage Dragon, issue 13. Original cover price $250. I'm telling you, you could get this book for cheaper. Cheaper than cover price. Inked by Richard Bennett. This is when Jim took his hiatus. I think he had just had his second kid and was gonna take a few years off, or at least a year off, something like that. And I just love this cover. I don't know what else to say. I think the colors look good. The Savage Dragon never had more detail or sort of awesomeness to it. Him and the Richard Bennett's inks, I think, really were conservative compared to some stuff that he does, and it fit really well with the piece. And yeah, this piece is just all win. I don't know if I've ever seen this in black and white, this cover, which sort of surprises me, just because I was at Wildstorm when potentially I could have seen this, or a photocopy of it or something like that. I don't think I've ever seen it, though. It's not to say it's fact. I think I have some black and white photocopies from some of the interiors of this, but I haven't seen them in years. I definitely have some of their WildC.A.T.s stuff. And yeah, I mean, all the gear and stuff, that looks great. There's a lot of gear. Richard Bennett always put a lot of gear, and I think Jim, working with him for this issue, probably wanted to live in that lane too. So, all right. We'll go through an order. So, what do we got? We've got Jim Lee pencils, and they're credited as finishes. So, that would mean that Jim probably did breakdowns to some extent. Possibly full pencils, but maybe not the detail. Meaning, I'll point out what might have potentially happened. So who do we got? We've got Bennett 1 through 6. I saw Scott Williams on a couple, and then Garner and Penrosian. All right, might pull this out. We can refer to it as we're looking at pages. It might be interesting. Will this work? So this is page 1. It's funny because I want this a little more saturated. Just a bit. Alright. Really, really cool establishing shot. It has Richard Bennett isms in it, but again, he's actually being pretty reserved. That's probably Sarah Becker. Blonde hair, Wildstorm jacket. I would care to believe Jim would put in a lot of artists in his comics, so it was always an honor and a treat if he threw you in a crowd scene. And we got a van. This is cool. Okay, what do we got here? Very crowded diner or bar. I guess it kind of looks like a bar, but it looks like a diner to me too. It's quite detailed. I wish I could read that. Looks like it says. I can't read it. Richard Wayne does facial hair and arm hair. It gets very dark, and so you can see it like can sometimes look a little dirty style. And we got Savage Dragon. Oh man, this is cool. His head structure is a little tiny bit weird here. He feels like it's like a little. It's just a little broad. I think that even though it's very similar, looks a little bit better. But watch when I put it back. You see his head is kind of morphing a little bit. She's cute. I like the chair a lot. All this looks very cool. And Bennett's nuts with guns. So Chicago police. I don't know where Erik Larsen's originally from. I don't know. I always thought that he lived up north. But I almost want to say that I think he lived in the Bay Area at one point. I don't know where he's originally from. That jacket's crazy. His elbow should be right about here. And it almost feels like his elbow is like down here. I know it isn't, but man, that's crazy. But yeah, if your rib cage is right about here, like the bottom of your rib cage, so your elbow would fall right about there. I guess in theory this could be his elbow. This is nice. These look really cool. He's cool. Big chunky guy. This is all nice. Perspective gets a little. I guess it's eye level. It's, I guess, right about here. Feels like we're almost seeing too much of these turned. Like they would be sitting at an angle. I don't know. Who cares? It's like if I'm gonna look at the art, I'm gonna try to break it down in my mind. It's just how these videos go. I can't help it anymore. So this is interesting. We've got a down shot here, but this really feels like we're looking straight on at this guy. It's like we're above this scene, maybe a few feet above this guy's head, but for whatever reason, this almost feels like he's in a different plane of existence, and this guy kind of does too. They're a little out of perspective with the shot, but it's not the crime of the century. This is nice, though. This is cool. Yeah, this is really, really good, actually. These are nice. I wish it was a little more clear. Those little faces are great. I always liked when Jim would draw stuff like this. Her neck is getting very, very long, but past that, it's actually, she's cute and it looks good. And this is really, really nice, man. I wasn't a huge fan of this kind of rendering on cheeks, even back then. I always thought it was a little too much hatching right there, like this. It just looked like a design on their face. But that was the style. That's what they did. And this is page. They all end with 8. Oh, okay, this is page 6. So this is still Bennett. The next page will be Scott Williams. This will be interesting to see. This is cool. Grifter's head's a little big, I think. Let's see something. I think. Kind of like that size of a head, a little tiny bit better. Watch when I put it back. Here, we'll look at it small for a sec. Like, that looks pretty good, and it makes his hands look like they're foreshortened and coming at us quite a bit. Now watch when I change his head. It's like he starts to look shorter, because a big head will always make a figure look squat. It is what it is. If you got a big head, you're be looking a little small in your body. This is cool. Bam, bam. Who's that? Keanu Reeves? What were these called? VATs? VAT guns? VATs? VAD? Something like that. Oh, the glory days. Oh, it's funny. Travis did something very similar to this, and I think WildC.A.T.s 16. It was a double page spread that was sideways, and he had guys kind of like this. Dun dun dun. He's like, it's too late. Yeah, I like all the gear he's putting on him. Looks good. The guns are cool. This almost looks like Jacob Marlowe. These are cool. These guys in the sort of creepy Metal Gear Solid looking gear. Look at that. That's right out of like the X-Men or something. Some crazy dude. Bam! That's a very iconic sort of Jim Lee guy getting punched in the face. Jim's thugs they always have like the broken nose. I always thought that was cool. Oh, look at that lighting. The double lighting. Hot rim lighting. Look at that. People getting toasted and roasted. My legs. Renko. This guy's got a very fancy jacket. These folds are nice. The billowing of this looks very, very cool. This is all nice too. I want to give a shout out to all my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys so much. I'll be more active this week. The last 2 weeks have been funky. I don't know what's going on. There's this weird transition between sort of the vacuum that we've all been living in for the last few months and like the real world starting to creep back in. So it's like I'm getting busier and busier with work and just commitments to myself that I have, and also just trying to get back on any kind of schedule for like exercise and eating right. It was like I started out really good and I was eating really good and everything was on point, and a couple of months into staying at home all the time I was just like, oh, chips is a good snack and these frozen burritos are tasty, cup of noodles is like, I was eating like garbage and started to feel like garbage. This is cool. So 2 weeks ago, I started to change all that again because I was like, I can't live like this. Rich, you need to be better. Your body's a temple and a wonderland. It's like, scoot over, Cole. I'm gonna lay down and read you some comic books. She's like, should we leave? He's like, no. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. It's just too much. I think you could put something there, but what it is I don't like these lines that go this direction and then these lines that go this direction. It's not a Richard Bennett thing. I mean, a lot of people did it, but yeah. But again, it was the style. It's like if it was a guitar effect, it would be just something that people use. This looks fine right here. Like that looks good. Even this tight shot, I don't mind any of this rendering here, although this looks cool. This looks really cool. You see he pulled the shadow in more, though. So it's not so much these lines. It's the scissory cheek right in here. I think if it was smoother... And it's funny, too. This is great face. Man, that is awesome. Holy cow. That could be so many different characters that Jim's drawn. And this all looks really, really good. So yeah, hopefully everyone's doing well, hanging in there. You know, I got offline a few months ago, but before COVID-19, I started really kind of implementing an exit strategy to a few different things. Facebook I got off a long time ago, but even Instagram was kind of starting to wear on me. And, you know, occasionally I just have to kind of check my Instagram or I'll get tagged by someone and have to go in and remove all the tags. It's like, don't tag me if I don't have anything to do with your art. If you want me to see it, just note me. But, yeah, a lot of people are suffering from depression and stuff like that right now. It made me feel bad. I saw a few people that were like, I need to take a break from online and this, that, and the other. And I was like, oh, man, people are starting to get wore out. So it's tough. I mean, I can't imagine, you know, the big rhetoric online a while ago was like, comic book artists have to put their pencils down. It's like everybody in the United States had to put their shit down. It wasn't just comic book artists, but there's still people. I mean, I didn't really miss any work. I had one job end, but past that, I mean, I really have been working the whole time. But there's a lot of people that have never even gone back to work yet. I don't know how they could be living. That would be really, really difficult. And as artists, we're very, very fortunate because we could sell prints online, we could sell original art online. There's a lot of avenues to create at least some income. But if you just work a regular job, and your job, they're not putting people on the site, then you're on unemployment, friend. You know, I could see where that would really start to freak people out. So I hope you all are doing well, and better things are coming. I'm sure of it. So just hang in there a little bit longer, make it through the summer, and have some fun looking at art and improving our skills. So this is all very cool. Again, that classic Jim Lee sort of thug face. It's interesting too because like look at the shape of his nose here, but then when he draws him from other positions, he doesn't amplify that as much. I mean, I guess he could be kind of suggested there. Even here, it doesn't seem as extreme. So I wish that when he would do these faces, that it would be a little more consistent throughout the other ones. Like, this is a fine face, this is fine, but I don't know if I'm totally getting the vibe of the other character. The structure of the heads is weird. It's like, oh, you know, I wonder. He might have had someone doing pencil assists. That is looking like a particular penciler to me, and I don't know. It's possible. This doesn't look like Jim's pencils to me. In fact, I would almost... This looks like the artist I was thinking of, too. And this does, too. I won't name names, but I'm thinking that Jim didn't draw all this. This looks like Jim. I mean, it all looks a little bit like Jim, but my spider senses are tingling. And my spider senses are damn good. I'm a superhero of comic book, what would you call it, like forensics. I am, actually. He's like, you're kidding me, Rich. I'm like, no, I'm not kidding you. It's a gift and a curse. He's like, Jesus Christ, just walk away, Rich. Walk away from the comics. He's like, okay, I'm going. Supermoon. Watch your back, Rich. I will. I will. Always have. Ooh, sexy times. Renko. She's on Pornhub. Just kidding. It's like, Rich, these are inappropriate jokes for comic book reviews. No, they're not. They really aren't. Oh, see, now this is what I'm talking about with Grifter. These are great Grifter mask drawings. The hair is on point. The shape of the mask is really good. He's got that big jacket that's kind of a pain in the butt to draw. It's either you do it well or you don't. This is nice. This guy. It's pretty funny. He's got like a turtleneck sweater, a jacket on over it. Looks like he's wearing pretty tight denim pants, maybe, or slacks of some sort. He's got black dress shoes, of course, and then the mullet hair or whatever. I don't know. Is this fringe? He's got fringe. Oh, there's fringe there. I didn't even notice that. Man. Rock and roll. This is like 1995? I think it's probably 95. There's the supermoon. Looking less cratery. His hair. I'm gonna say that this is Hair Club for men. Ready? Let's just for fun. Let's do this. See, he's not just a member. Or it's not just the owner. He's a member. I like that. This is really good too. This is nice. This is great. Looks very good. This is, so, you know, when you lay out a piece like this, he probably drew it and had like line work. Like he could have gone either way, but when he did it all in black, then the line work becomes white lines. And it's a complicated technique for inkers, honestly, because if you go in and outline everything, it looks weird. So what I do is I'll ink everything with a Hunt 102 as is. So I'll outline it, I'll ink all these folds with a black Hunt 102 and my darkest ink. Then what I'll do is I'll fill in all the black over the whole entire thing. I'll go right over my lines, but with new ink, and you can see your Hunt 102 lines underneath the black ink. I've done the technique in a YouTube video before, and then I'll go in with white and I'll re-ink those lines. that I can see through the translucency of the two inks. Hunt 102 kind of tattoos the ink into the paper, and for whatever reason, generally when I lay something down with the Hunt 102, it's a little bit more shiny. Fresh ink tends to be a little bit more watery. Fresh ink tends to be a little more matte finish. And so the two, when they're on top of each other, actually look a little different. If if the light is good, you'll be able to see the line work underneath it. This is great. Oh, yeah, Richard was way into the scope things. His guns always had like a bazillion of these kind of things. All this. The irony is these guys would just run and gun. They never ever really use the scopes. Oh, I guess maybe these could be like a laser pointer. They don't really show them as laser pointers, though. Like, that would have been kind of cool. You know, those scenes in movies where, like, all the laser pointers, like, fall on someone. This is a nice grifter. His hair's a little too, like, grass-like. It's, like, strandy. Still looks cool, but... I think what it is every piece is swirly. So it looks a little funky. A little too dispersed. This is all really cool. Watch out, Cash. I wish that DC would do WildC.A.T.s, but it would never be the WildC.A.T.s that I would want to see. So, I don't know. The WildC.A.T.s I would want to see would be Travis back on WildC.A.T.s. Hell, if we're going to wish, then it would be me inking Travis on WildC.A.T.s. WildC.A.T.s Volume 5. And we would just write it together. I wouldn't even write it. I would just let Travis draw whatever he wants. He could just make it up as he goes. It would be fine. We'll have one issue come out a year. That gun. Oh man, it was awesome. So I had bought a bunch of Ultimate Soldier replica guns years ago. Carlos Deanda, my office mate and good friend, used to collect Ultimate Soldier dolls, and Travis too. And I never got into collecting the actual figures, like the 1/6 scale figures, but I would buy the weapon packs, and I finally found them. They've been lost for, man, I don't know, over 10 years. And it's great. They're really, really cool. And it's funny, too, is you can actually see some of the guns that different artists had used. I mean, they're all real guns. You know, some of them are a little, like, teched out. But I think they're the modern warfare ones. If you go on eBay, you'll see World War II and Axis and Vietnam-era weapons. And even, I think, some World War I ones. But I think they were considered the modern-era pack. They're pretty cool. Look at that. Triscuits. Triscuit cheek. Triscuit cheek. Look at this guy's head. This, I don't mind as much just in here. That's what I don't like. This is nice. He's like, bro hug. Let's do it. This is all cool. Always. The military has to come in. Take out all the thugs. The super thugs. So, alright. That's going to be it. Hopefully that was fun. Hopefully everyone has a good Sunday. And I'll be back. Well, I'll definitely be on Patreon a lot this week. So if you haven't checked out my Patreon, I would definitely recommend it. And then I'll probably not be back this week on YouTube until the weekend. I've got a lot to do this week. Like I said, I've got 26 pages to do in like 3 weeks. And some of the pages are taking 2 days. It's a lot. So, all right. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day. Bye.